Hey guys! Psychonauts here. Nearly forgot about the mic. And today, I'm back with another episode of Anime vs. Reality, where we got a few things to talk about, sort of before and after the podcast for today. Before we get started on the episodes, we have a anime character's birthday, not from Guilty Crown, but from Lucky Star with Kanada Izumi, whose birthday is today as of filming. That's all I really have to say at the start. Today we're going to be finishing off Guilty Crown, so let's get right into it. We're starting off with episode 18. At the end of last podcast episode, Guy was brought back to life and attacks, literally steals the king's power from our main character. What was his? Why am I forgetting his name? Shu. From Shu, yeah. Anyway, episode 18 starts off with Daryl being surprised to hear that he and the antibodies have to protect Guy of all the characters, like the one guy you fought for so long, you now have to protect. And at the same moment, the UN drops the reactive material warheads directly on everyone's head. It's like, no, there's no escaping this. Except Guy uses his Void Summoner Void to triple Ritsu, Namba, and Longhair Creep's voids all at once. Turn them into a missile to stop the RM warheads and kill the pilot in all three in one fell swoop. So, like, the three characters they took the voids from. Miyabi tries attacking Guy for killing Ritsu, but an Enlave destroys her void weapon in one shot, crystallizing her immediately. Another Enlave aims at Sugami for stepping closer to Guy, but Daryl decides to turn on his team for protecting Guy and to protect Sugami, which doesn't have the best explanation why he does this. He just does it. It was like he picked all positions to aim at Guy where Sugami was, as well, which is even more funny. More Enlaves shoot Daryl's Enlave, and Arisa protects Guy from the explosion, showing her allegiance to him. In the absolute carnage of this battle, Shu and Inori manage to get away from the fight, and Arisa is now forced to serve Guy. With the ultimate failure of the RM warheads, the UN approaches Japan via an Armada fleet, but suddenly the entire Armada is just destroyed by a massive explosion, including the jets. And Guy appears on every screen in the entire world to tell them that their moves are currently being monitored by 256 leukocytes, and that no military actions are permitted, nor are they allowed close to Ward 24. Orisa's grandfather receives reports from the students that escaped that Guy has stolen Shu's void power. That's when they realize it must be the Darth organization of which that mysterious character works for, which is older than the Freemasons or the Priory of Sion. And with Arisa working with Forward 24, her grandfather has only one thing to do, and that's to try and save his granddaughter. Haruka went along with the plan to save Shu from the king's fate, wanting him to live. So, we're getting all these characters' perspectives of Haruka wanted to save her stepson. Well, spoiler. Arisa's grandfather wants to save his Arisa. All that. Meanwhile, Inori manages to gather food for herself and Shu while hiding from teams of searchers looking for anyone that's still alive. Just ready to gun them down. Arisa questions why Guy needs Inori, but the followers of Guy don't question his actions, just act them out. Shibungi finally wins his game of chess against Makoto, meaning he'll finally get to meet Guy again, which is that mysterious him he was talking about. But he notes Makoto lost on purpose because they both have questions for Guy. It's like, Makoto's smart, and when he wants answers, he will lose something on purpose just to get them. Shu doesn't even want to eat since letting everyone down, but allowing him and Inori to get spotted. Luckily for them, Arisa's grandfather's team ambushes the truck Arisa is currently in, alerting Inori to the situation with gunfire, and Inori goes and checks it out. Arisa's grandfather also proves himself to be an expert at sword throwing, killing a member of Guy's group with one throw, slicing the two others, then turning on Arisa to kill her, but only to catch a bullet in the chest. It's like, you had the one character. It's like this guy turned out to be the most epic fighter in the entire show without you realizing, and then killed by his own granddaughter. Inori has overheard that they are after her, only be surrounded by survivors that are all suddenly bleeding out without her realizing she did it. It's like, whoopsies! Shu watches his slideshow of pictures of his friends, leaving a pile of wrapped food for a little kid to eat. Inori runs back to Shu and starts to get thirsty for something other than blood. Until Shu stops her from doing so and scaring herself. It's like, what else would Inori be thirsty for? Yeah. She wakes up later to Shu gone, and Inori and miso soup left for her to eat. But she's not alone in her mind, talking to Mana about how she'll end up killing Shu, that Inori should return to her before she does. Inori has a flashback when Shu almost asked about why her void is a sword, but says he doesn't care about what's inside her and that she is who she is. Heading to the roof, Inori sings Utope once again, attracting Shu's attention and making him start crying. It's like the calling song that she has. It's the one song that she always sings, and it's like the calling card. She hugs Shu, telling him not to blame himself for what's going on, and sharing how she got lots of feelings from being with him, and that she'll always be by his side. But now she has to leave Shu for his safety, and when he complains, she knocks him out with a special ability and kisses him goodbye. Instead of handing herself over willingly, though, Inori sprouts several void spikes from her hands and her back, destroying insects with ease, all while looking like a monster with wild hair. Like, she literally lets her hair down for this fight. It's actually pretty cool. However, Guy takes her down with one arrow shot that also wraps her in void wire, meaning Shu now has no one. He has no one to be around, or no one with him at the moment. And now we go into episode 19. Makoto saw Guy at his work of using voids while he was capturing Inori, getting a photo to notice Guy's use of the king's power is different from Shu before he deletes the photo to make sure he's not caught. or sends it somewhere. I don't know exactly. Meanwhile, Haruka uses her hacking skills to gain access to Mana's cell, but Mana is not in her crystal prison, as Kato actually planned for the entire time. Haruka reveals she knew Kato killed her husband the entire time, only to have a slow trigger finger and be shot on the shoulder by Kato. It's like, come on, yeah? You have one thing. You gotta be quick on the trigger. When you have a gun, you gotta be quick on the trigger if you need to defend yourself. I just noticed that sword's fallen over. Out on the streets, Shu sneaks up on Arisa, holding her hostage to learn where Inori is. Which, honestly, somehow managing to hold her hostage with only one hand is impressive. But the information is interrupted by Haruka's escape with a Saphira case with important information inside. Makoto realizes something about Haruka, asking Kato to let him chase her himself. Arisa and Shu go to find Haruka, with Arisa fearing she must know Guy's plans. Oh yeah, and by the way, Haruka just somehow escaped, even after getting shot in the shoulder. Like, no explanation on that. Just cut to her on a bike. Haruka makes it to the Kohoen group. Never gonna know how to pronounce that word. Stopping before she hits her old friend Karachi, who lets her know that Arisa's grandfather is dead and that the Kohoen mansion is no more. She tells Karachi what happened with her failed mission to kill Mana, which naturally branches out to Ogumo revealing he knew Shu and Haruka asking how he was, saying she did neglect him. At the same time, Shu tells Arisa that Haruka is not his real mother, just married to Kurosu, who died soon after. The interesting thing about the family tree is that Kato and Haruka are technically related, which really adds a nice wrinkle of, like, it's weird how everyone in this anime is somehow related to each other, almost. Or, like, everyone fighting each other is related somehow, turning this whole thing into, like, a family beef. For no reason. Like, this is a family beef for no reason. I need to turn the light. Ah. There we go. That was a failed attempt at turning a light on. Makoto has already tracked down the Undertaker's hideout, thanks to his prisoner, whom he just kills, and Rowan's deck. Karachi receives word of someone approaching their hideout, but it's only random survivors that Makoto blends in with. Once inside, bullets fly, killing the random survivors, and Ogumo manages to save Haruka before attacking and swiftly being taken out by Makoto's blade. It's just like, damn, Makoto's really good in any type of combat almost. Taking out the big guy. Escaping on the motorbike and sidecar, Karachi checks the Sephora case Haruka has to find the last void genome file GHQ had. Over with the escaped students, they have Aruga to check out to Ogumo. They sent out Aruga to check on Ogumo's well-being, not knowing that, well, he's dead, but some think he is. Aruga breaks the sad news to say, complete with the closing the dead person's eyes cliche. It's like, oh, come on. We don't need that cliche to happen every time. Like, yes, it makes the person look less creepy, but Sometimes a bit of creepy goes a long way. Shimbungi gets his meeting with Guy, talking about the past with him and how disappointed he is with Guy. The guy golly explains he's had one goal and everyone saw their dreams in that, leading to their own disappointment. Guy saw the Undertakers as a means to an end and Shimbungi as only a pawn to him. But Shimbungi has a new wish to kill Guy. Haruka explains to Yase about how Yase could gain the same power as Guy by using the Void Genome, but there's also the possibility that her genes could violently reject it. However, just to make the situation worse, if Shu uses the King's power one more time, he could die. Makoto, ever the ruthless tracker, shows up with a bunch of insects to attack the escaped students' hideout, and the reason notices they're too late to the same hideout, so Shu decides to dive and roll from the vehicle to take his own shortcut, like literally just dropping from a bridge. And like somehow not breaking an ankle. Like, these are the moments where you need Haru around. Like, I'm just gonna drop. The main group are surrounded on all sides from Makoto's attack, so Ayase requests Haruka to use the Void Genome on her. Preparing to use the Void Genome, Makoto shows up to shoot away, send the Void Genome down the escalator. While Makoto gloats about his search for the secret of the Void Genome, Ayase speeds towards the escalator. And like she epically just goes down the rail, like damn. She knows how to slide. Makoto knocks it out of her reach using his blade, only for Shu to pick it up, deciding to use it despite the risk. Now with the King's power again, Shu grabs his own chest, creating a new Void Crystal right arm for himself, using it immediately to use everyone's voids to defeat the insects and Makoto. However, such use of the voids has now infected Shu with the Apocalypse virus from Sota, which leaves Sota cured, revealing Shu's void to be a collector of anything and everything. Shu's willing to accept his fate of bearing everything just to save Inori from Guy. It's like, this is like ultimate good guy time for Shu. And we'll see how well he can use it going into episode 20. Over with the villains, Kato and Guy talk about the return of Shu's King's power, and knowing that Shu is using his own void. Like Shu literally shoots a light into the air, I'm pretty sure. It also appears to be the case that Mana has mostly taken over Inori's body as her own, but Inori is still resisting. And Shu's friends have gotten away on a boat, but that doesn't mean they can't get away from Guy's speech of attacks being pulled against him, and in response plans to commit mass extinction of all humans on December 25th in preparation for a new world. Karachi announces she has used the Kahoan wealth to gather a group of private military companies ready to fight Guy. Haruko asks what's going on, and Shimbungi shows up to answer that Guy is planning a worldwide Lost Christmas. Shimbungi also has Shu's father's journal to deliver directly from Guy, because Guy believes they have the right to die knowing everything. Guy also reveals that Kato is his father, making this anime the craziest family tree brawl ever, with Shu being the outsiders and everything. It's like, yeah, Shu is like the only character that is not related to them by blood. Like, Idori is Mana, Gato is Guy's father, Haruka is Kato's sister, which by uh, since since she was adopted, it's like Guy is his nephew-in-law. Oh my gosh. We're getting all the backstory now. As Kato reflects on his history with Shu and how it wasn't until they met that Kato could find people who could offer arguments and compete with him. In 2017, Karazu constructed his genome resonance theory based on Kato's intron RAM hypothesis, earning that guy all the praise instead of Kato. And Kato's excited to show Karazu that his theory made the Science Journal, only to catch Karizo and Seika Shijo very well acquainted in the bed. With a kid already on the way and soon to get married. It's like, ugh. Yikes. 5 years later, so 2022, the meteorite rock holding the Apocalypse virus crash landed to Earth, with Meta being the first discoverer of it, and Kato and Kurosu finding out it reacts to the genome resonance. What perfect timing to have created that theory. They figure out that the meteorite has the Apocalypse virus, and that the genome resonance can make it slip into introns and make flesh harden, which is not a good sign. Down the timeline, they meet Yu of Darth Gravekeeper fame, who mentions that the seed of the Apocalypse virus has already spread across all of Japan. When Mana matures into Eve, she'll be able to bring about the fourth apocalypse of Earth's history, thanks to her being the first person to be infected by the Apocalypse virus. Mana already has plans for her mother's second baby to become Adam. So, yeah, world-changing incest moment. Sweet home Alabama. Oh no. And Shu was born at the cost of Seiko's life, and with the future looking like it's all going to be based on Kuruzo's blood, Kato snapped. That's when Guy enters the story, with Kato saying he's the only surviving child of a kidnapping or smuggling scheme. Turns out that Kato is not actually his father, just became his father in his mission to find another Adam for Mana. Thanks to the horrendous experiments carried out by Kato, Guy decided to escape from his facility, which would lead Guy to Mana. It's like the ultimate self-fulfillment moment of you try to avoid one person, you end up at the very person he was trying to figure an Adam out for. Kurosu and Haruka meet for the first time in 2028, with Kurosu writing her name on a sticky note so he doesn't forget her. The two become close, with Haruka preparing lunches for Kurosu and generally cleaning the place, sometimes checking out his research. Seeing more sticky notes around the original sticky note of her name, which includes her birthday of January 22nd, she decides to marry Kurosu, even if Kato is slightly annoyed by it, because they're related. It's like, oh, that's a bit awkward. The next year, Mena sent Haruka away to get Kurosu away from his research to be at the church. However, Kurosu is not at his research office, allowing Kato to read his research on how the Apocalypse virus externalizes and materializes the hearts of those infected, and how he found a genetic code able to intervene in the process, calling it the Void Genome. So GHQ did even create it. It literally is stolen research. Kurosu catches Kato reading his diary, but isn't upset, and Kato wants to cooperate with Kurosu. But Kurosu doesn't want to work with anyone because that makes his thinking weaker. Which, yeah, valid point. It's like working with other people can sometimes just dilute your thoughts. Kato thinks Kurosu got jealous of him, which leads to Kato shooting Kurosu in cold blood, permanently declaring they are no longer friends. Especially when one of them is dead. Haruka discovers that Shu's void allows him to temporarily store voids and absorb cancer cells as the genetics of the apocalypse virus. She tells Shu not to use his power anymore because Inori might already be gone thanks to Mana's consciousness. Along with Shu's gathering of students at the school since the start of the blockade zone, Mana has been able to regain some power. Shu tries to return the voids he borrowed to those he borrowed from, but Yahiro grapples him away from doing so. Shu explains that he's using his power to save Inori and everyone, not to defeat Guy. But everyone agrees to let Shu hold their voids. Sota is reluctant to agree though, so Shu decides they need to shake hands to make up for their fight, becoming friends with Sota once again. And now these last two episodes we're getting into the actual battle. Or we're getting to the final battle, really. But we're gonna wind it back a little bit, because Yu was there, the character Yu was there to reintroduce Guy to the world as the new king, and Mana's Adam as Guy became a literal Jesus metaphor, because religion is just littered through this anime. Inori peeks back out in her own body to ask if Guy is sad, but he's not, because his wish is about to become true. Meanwhile, the UN approaches Japan without attacking because, unlike Shimbungi, they don't know that the 256 leukocytes is a bluff to keep them away. Shimbungi's group has arrived with time to prepare for the battle to save Inori, with Yase putting the final touches on Steiner. Sugumi trying to upgrade Fennel, and Karachi noting this fight is a save the world kind of fight. Shu helps Ayase into a control pod, and she asks if Shu could shoot Guy if he were to appear in front of him, to which he answers he can. In response to her question, Shu says Ayase is pretty, and that she should stay pretty compared to his job to get dirty. He doesn't want to have to use her void to fight, but he will if he has to. But Ayase knows that going into this fight, telling him not to die selfishly while borrowing it. So, the UN decided to drop in their own Enlaves, just in time for Guy to show up and use Kenji's and Arisa's voids to create a giant bow void to fire many arrows that explode in more giant void spikes to destroy 87% of the UN forces. It's like, and they state it was 87% in the anime. It's like, that is a lot of damage. Kato orders his men to start up their Enlaves and to get the Ghost unit in the battle. Daryl is also joining the fight in his new Enlave. Gespense. I think it's Gespense. But this time, he's being a guinea pig for some Iron Man weapon. Like, literal hole in his chest stuff. Shu sets out for battle on his Fennel Segway, followed by everyone else, and Rowan releases the Ghost Unit to fight the Undertakers, but it turns out to be a void copy of them. This was enough time for Sumi to take down the entire Ghost Unit using Haruka's backdoor plug, opening the door for the UN to try attacking again. Sumi and Shibungi separate from the attack group to continue the plan. Guy returns to Inori to remove her feelings and memories so she can be reborn as Mana, reflecting on the day he found her, which she was grateful for because he gave her a human life. She was glad to have met Shu, learning of the world's sadness and beauty through him, revealing he liked him for his humanity. All the while, Shu selflessly saves a UN soldier and heals him of his apocalypse cancer. And getting inside, Shu's squad loses contact with Sugumi, leaving them in the dark on Inori's location. But her last action of singing before losing her memories leads Shu right to her location. Because she literally is like a siren song. However, instead of getting right to Inori, the sound only Shu hears leads them into a trap. Yu wants to talk to Shu separately, mainly about who's most suitable to become Adam between Shu or Guy. Materializing an apple, Yu asks if Shu will destroy mankind and live with Mana forever. And Shu's answer is no, and for that, Yu and Shu battle to the death, with Yu having many people's voids at his disposal. At the same time, Ayase and everyone else are attacked by more followers, and Daryl's giant dispense and Lave. Yu monologues at Shu about Shu abandoning Mana and focusing on Nori, allowing Shu to get a solid hit on Yu using Urugo's darkness void. Have that one ready. Like it's like a what was the term? Chekhov's gun moment. Chekhov's darkness void. Shu shows he knows Inori more than anyone else, while the both of them prepare their massive final attacks. Yu fires his double-barrel void shooter void first, but it only fuels Shu's energy ball void attack. But still leaves Yu alive. Like literally Dragon Ball Z him. And he still didn't die. With Inori, her last free tear falls on the void crystal, leaving a void crystal flower, but now she's gone, replaced with Mana and bringing back Lost Christmas. And Lost Christmas worldwide is madness. As I'll go into in our last episode. In our last episode, purple void lines wrap around the entire globe as Lost Christmas gears up to destroy it all. Ayase and Daryl do battle in their Enlays, and Sugumi is still unable to regain control over the building system due to Kenji's defending firewall. Mana wakes up to say hello to Guy, but completely ignores him when she sees Shu, thinking he came for her. Shu shoves Mana off him, saying Inori was human unlike her. It's like, ooh, that's gonna be mean right there. Guy steps up to let Mana's void, a darker version of Inori's void, do the fighting, turning the floor into a map of Earth. Mana starts Earth's final dance, creating snow in Japan as the starting move that shuts down all Enlays. She leaps onto Paris into a pirouette as giant void crystallization lasers fire down on Paris. I wish I was making this stuff up. Other countries like Brazil suffered the same fate. However, only affecting humans, leaving animals to ruin the ruined countries. Which is interesting. I thought you would want to kill all. I guess it's just kill all humans. Guy and Shu fight for their goals. The Guy is much stronger than Shu. Meanwhile, Daryl's Enlave is left standing due to void power, ready to kill Ayase and everyone else. Arugo shows off his firepower and tells Ayase to connect to Steiner with a cable. Daryl takes out Ayase's floating chair as she races towards Steiner. Thanks to the inability to connect to Tsugumi, and Arugo's while firing backfires and the truck blows up behind him due to Gespence's shield. Ruin warns Daryl about how the Void Genome emulator is still in testing and not to push it too hard, but Daryl doesn't listen as Apocalypse cancer spreads to his face. Back in the fight for humanity, Shu tries to appeal to Guy's human side, but Guy is truly just set in his ways. He wants the world to end. And strikes Shu down. Kato gloats to Kurosu about how his daughter is bringing about the end of the world and that he wins, which angers Haruka. Arisa's shield void is about to be destroyed by the UN soldiers, and Shibungi personally decides to go find Kenji. Shu is about ready to give up the fight until he sees Inori's remaining void flower, allowing him to release Inori's genomic resonance, which stops Daryl's dispense and ruins Kenji's hacking, which is fully stopped by Shibungi doming him with a bullet. It's just like, hi. Kato injects himself with something as void crystals spreads across him, and the Ayase and Tsugumi regain control over Steiner and attack Daryl with overwhelming power. Shu and Guy go full anime sword fight, complete with all the cuts away from the fight. With Shu cutting through Guy in one strike, mid-drop, killing Guy and Mana. It's like 2-in-1 kill right there. Damn. Kato succumbs to the Apocalypse virus, telling Haruka to leave, and Daryl is defeated by Tsugumi and Ayase. Seeing the destruction caused, Guy explains that this is where natural selection converges, the paradise of Darth. So, like, this is like a whole different, like, dimension, I think. Like, of crystals. Void crystals hold the memories of everything, as shown by the replaying of scenes from the second opening without Inori. Like full-on, like, recreation. Guy really thought, back when Shu stabbed him, that it would be the key to free Mana, but Darth interfered and saved her from second death. So, literally, Mana died once, got saved from second death, and now is dying a third time. Jeez, that is just way too many times to die. The only way to save Mana was through her role in the destruction of Earth. Guy went along with the role of the new king to save Earth until Shu showed up and killed him. His final message is for Shu to go to save Nori. Speaking of Inori, she shows up covered in void crystals, asking Shu to stay by her side. Shu does the only thing he can to save Inori and everyone, and uses his king's power to absorb all the void crystals and voids in the world. sacrificing his body. The Undertakers have to abandon the GHQ building due to it collapsing, and Rowan saves Daryl from suspense, tossing him in the elevator to save him in an unnecessary sacrifice. Like, they both could have gotten in there and survived. Shu is encased by the void crystals, closing his eyes, only to open them, looking at Inori, who asks him to take the cat's cradle. He finally does it, which allows Inori to sacrifice herself in his place, freeing him from the void crystals. Aruga is forced to get everyone out without Shu as the entire GHQ building collapses. Several years into the future of the anime, with buildings still displaying Inori's music videos, so she's not forgotten, and the survivors meet up for tea, along with Shu, who has been left blind and with a metal arm ever since the incident. You can see he became male version of Yang, but blind. The episode ends with a recap of the show and embracing Inori through her music. Whew, that's again another sad sort of ending right there. However, okay, now that we've finished the anime, I do want to say there was 2 10-minute episodes that came out that was like a prequel about how Kodo even learnt about void crystals himself and all that. It's not even really... It is canon, but I don't want to cover it because it's such a short thing. Other than that, I am going to be taking a break from the podcast until the end of, for June. So, until the end of June, there will be no new podcast episodes. It will allow me to get ahead on an anime that's coming up that's 60 episodes long, along with other anime that are coming later that are even longer. For YouTube, links will be in the description to both the channels and the Twitch feed. Guys, go check out. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know next video comes out. A ding. I'm Psycrafter out.